Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to DJ TLM TV. My name is DJ TLM and this is part 4 of my Scratch tutorial series. Now, if you're new to scratching, I would advise that you check part 1, 2, and 3 first and then come back to this video. Today, we're finally moving on from just using one player and platter, and we're going to add that section in the middle, the mixer, and more importantly, of course, the crossfader and channel faders. Today, I'm going to show you what effect fader moves have on your scratches, and we're going to do that by taking some of the scratches from the previous video and adding fader moves. Check it out. Let's take a look at the function of the faders and how you can apply that functionality to your scratches. Don't worry if your mixer does not look exactly the same as this one, or if you're using a controller and the section in the middle, the mix section, looks a bit different. Does not matter. All mixers will have the channel faders, the faders that go up and down. This one has 4, yours might have 2. And most mixers will have the crossfader, the one that goes left and right. Faders control your volume. And when the channel faders are all the way up, you have full volume. When they're all the way down, the sound is off. And you can fade the sound in and fade it out. Very useful for mixing, but also nice for scratching. The crossfader is used to choose between 2 decks and also used to mix. If it's all the way to the left side, you can hear deck A. All the way to the right side, you can hear deck B. And when it's in between, you're going to hear both. Now, very important, you need to check if your mixer or your controller has the option to adjust the crossfader curve. And the crossfader curve is how fast the volume is at full volume when you move the fader. I'll show you. If this mixer is in normal mix mode, you're only going to have full volume when the fader reaches all the way to that side. So slowly it comes in. Only there you have full volume. For scratching, you want to be at full volume as fast as possible. This mixer has the option to switch. Now I'm in scratch mode. Now, if I open the fader just a little bit, right there, I'm already at full volume, and that's a real advantage for more complicated scratching. Otherwise, it's going to be real hard to do the difficult scratches. So check your mixer or controller to see if you can adjust the crossfader curve and set it so that the sound starts as soon as possible if you open it just a little bit. But okay, we'll get into that when we get to the more advanced scratches. Back to the faders and just fading the sound. What I want you to do is do a normal baby scratch. But now with your free hand, we're going to call this the scratch hand. With your free hand, we're going to call that the fader hand right now. You're going to grab your channel fader. And while you're doing the baby scratch, you're going to go down and bring it back up again. Slowly so that you really have that fade effect. Like this. Now, you could hear straight away, that's different than doing the normal baby scratch. It is still the normal baby scratch, but because you're changing the volume, you're changing the sound of your scratch. Now, I did it in a real slow fashion right now. You could do it faster or a different rhythm, and that will make the scratch sound even more different, like this. So it gives you a whole lot of new options. You're still doing your baby scratch, nothing changed there, same technique. But now the second hand, the fader hand, is making it so that you have a lot of new patterns to choose from. So that's a real cool thing, and this is still a very basic move, just up and down, and it's gonna get a lot more difficult, so you're gonna have to work on your hand coordination because the scratch hand, a lot of times, is gonna depend on your fader hand and vice versa. It's a real team effort here for both hands. Now that's a normal fade for your scratches, and that's best to do with the channel fader. The other cool thing about controlling the volume means that if you use the faders, you control which sounds are going to be heard and which sounds you're going to eliminate. And that can make scratches cleaner. For instance, if you do drops and you pull them back, you're going to hear that you pull them back. Sometimes that might sound cool, but especially if you do a couple of drops in a row, it doesn't sound as clean, especially if you want the focus to be on the sound that you let go. So what you can do is use the fader to eliminate this backspin. And that's what we call cutting. We're gonna do that right now. You're gonna drop it, stop, pull down the fader, bring it back. Now, you did not hear me bring that back. You couldn't hear the backspin of the platter. Now, bring the fader back up and drop it again. Down, up, down, up. That's cutting, and it can make it a lot cleaner. You can also choose to sometimes let the backspin play as well. You have full control by using that fader. You can apply the same tactics by using the crossfader, and in some cases it's a lot easier to use the crossfader because the channel fader takes a long distance before it's open and closed. And especially when you're cutting, you have to really cut out the sound, bring it back in. The crossfader, especially if you have the scratch setting, just takes this little distance to have volume and cut it out again. So in that case, you only have to make a real small fader movement. Open, close, back, open. So that does make it easier because it is a smaller move, but also make sure that you practice it with the channel fader. Just in case you have to play on a mixer without a good crossfader, it's always good to know how to do it on both faders. Now you can also use the same tactic, cutting out the sound, to make new patterns for the baby scratch. You're gonna do a baby scratch, non-stop. And now you're gonna use your fader to decide when we hear the baby scratch and when we don't hear it. And you can make a pattern. Or do the same thing with the crossfader. That's a real simple pattern, but you can do all sorts of things. It's up to you to decide how much you want to hear and how much you don't want to hear. Like this. Again, we're still doing the same scratch tactic, but because of the fader, you now have a lot of new patterns that you can practice. I want to teach you one more pattern, and that's also using the baby scratch, and this is called the military scratch. It's a little more difficult because now you have to remember an exact pattern. You're gonna go forward, fader down, bring it back, fader open, 1, 2, 3, close the fader, bring it back, and do one more. Close it and back. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. When you do that in a row, it sounds like this. It sounds like you're marching, so that's why they call it the military scratch. It's just one pattern, and You can try that. You don't have to use that, but you can think of a million patterns that you want to use. All right, now I'm going to do a couple of cuts and fades over a beat using the channel fader and the crossfader. Alright guys, that's more than enough info for now. As you can tell, adding fader moves to your scratches just opens up a whole new dimension. It's going to be more complicated because you're going to have to work on your hand coordination, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to introduce some new scratches in the next video, but until that time, I want you to start practicing. Practice, practice, practice. Most important thing. Click like if you liked the video, enjoyed the info, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already so you don't miss out on any of the videos. Check djtlmtv.com and I'll be back real soon. If you want to use the same sounds and beats that I use in my tutorials, check the link in the description down below. If you have any questions, just email me djtlmtv@djtlm.com. That's all for now. Salute.